Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. Thanks for joining us. I mean, people accuse me of going on and on about working from home, but I really think it's quite a sort of debilitating habit which has crept into all forms of working, largely in the public sector, but also in the private sector as well. I think it's quite dangerous. I mean, we've now got police officers saying that they're investigating murder cases from home.
Well, Mike, working from home has obviously come about because of COVID, and we know where we are now. Some police officers in certain jobs cannot work from home. First responders, they have to be out there because they're first dealing with crime. And there's certain things that you can't access while you're at home because systems of policing are confidential.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that you can do from home. And I think like the rest of society, like the rest of the organisations in society, police officers are able to do certain things from home. But certainly dealing with victims, they're out there, they're visiting them, they're dealing with them face-to-face and giving them that one-to-one, because otherwise there's no victim care. So there are certain jobs that police officers can do from home which are being done, but there's others where police officers are not allowed to do that. They can carry out their inquiries by sitting in an office, just telephoning people or speaking to them, then they can do that from home. But when they need to be able to speak to victims, they're out there, they're dealing with victims on a one-to-one basis.
They are, but what we're seeing, unfortunately, statistically, Nusra, is that the number of crimes being solved and even dealt with properly is diminishing. You know, we know that 6%, I think, of crimes are more or less the only number you get actually convictions on. In April 2022, solved cases were down 35%. Compared to April 2021. So, I mean, this is what I always say. I'm not blaming working from home solely, but there's clearly a problem in all government departments, in all civil service offices, where people are not working in the office, the efficiency is way down.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've got to look at why is that? Why are certain crimes not being prosecuted, not even getting to the point of charge? And that's got to be because of lack of experience and various other factors. It's not purely, as you rightly said, working from home. So I think let's look at what it is. Lack of experience, lack of officers to actually carry out those investigations, funding. So we've got to look at it holistically, Mike, and that's not acceptable. Absolutely. If we're not detecting crimes, we're not dealing with crimes, police are there to protect the community and offer a quality of service, which clearly in certain cases isn't being done. And it just needs to be investigated more. Do we need more police officers? Do we need more experience? Do we need more mentoring? Do we need to work closely with CPS? Because rape and, prosecuting for certain offences is down. Why is that? Where does the responsibility lie? And I think there needs to be less talk and more action to unpick that. And you're absolutely right. The police have to be accountable and we have to start to ask those important questions.
Yes, I think so.
Would it make a difference if a police officer was sitting in an office and making some inquiries or doing some phone work, or if he or she was at home? That's not the real issue here. There's a bigger issue.
No, I think you're right. There is a bigger issue, but it's still quite an important issue because I think leadership skills are learned at the workplace. Leadership skills are not learned on Zoom. Leadership skills, when you have to identify with lots of different people in an office, as you well know, interactions can be very complicated and sometimes things can get difficult. But if you never actually get to meet who you're working with or you never see them, you don't even have that kind of, joie de vivre, you don't have that compadre spirit. You're not working as a team for me, and I think police officers have to work as a team. You're not working on your own, are you?
No, you're not. You're absolutely right. And those communication skills are vital for any police officer. But it's, again, about, those police officers that are working from home, what are they actually doing? Because work is an activity, it's not a place. But I totally agree with you that, you need to be out there, you need to be communicating, building skills, and you need to be managed. And maybe leadership and supervision in the workplace is a real issue. Even if people are going to work, are they supervised properly? Do the supervisors know what's going on? Have they got the right skills and the equipment to do it? And I think that's a wider issue, because if you can work from home by making a few calm phone calls, doing inquiries, that's great. But you are needed in the office to be supervised to make sure that the crimes you're investigating are done properly and they're actioned. That's where the issue is for me, Mike. Yeah. And you've picked that up. So we do need to be looking at a wider aspect. We need to be looking at the supervisor skills. Are supervisors supervising? Where are they? What are they doing when people are sending WhatsApp messages or not contacting victims? Because we're letting, at the end of this, are the real victims that need justice, that need support. And if we're not doing that for a number of reasons, whatever they may be, that needs to be investigated and looked at.
For sure, because even if you look at the case in point in Parliament this week of the Tory MP who's been questioned for the alleged rape of a colleague or of somebody in the Houses of Parliament, that's a story that's been going on for a couple of years. You know, that complaint was made a couple of years ago. It's taken until now for that to reach the fruition point where they actually decide to talk to the guy and arrest him. It seems to me that everything's taking a lot longer than it used to take as well.
I mean, and that could have been for a number of reasons. You know, it's a very complicated case, and I can't really comment on the mechanics of it.
Sure.
There could be a number of reasons in it. You know, there is somebody here that's the victim, and we have to do justice to that victim. So I can't really comment on why it's taken so long and what the processes of that was. But let's hope that my thoughts are with the victim and that the victim actually gets justice towards the end of this, and hopefully that it's investigated in the right way with the right support network.
Yes, absolutely right. And as far as the politicisation of the police, a lot of accusations about that. I mean, we saw this week the police watchdog saying that, you know, police officers should use their discretion when it comes to looking into shoplifting, particularly if people are shoplifting for food. Some people are saying he was misquoted. But, I mean, what I said yesterday on this was that, you know, it's all very well for police officers to use their discretion, but what isn't good is if one of their superior officers says, by all means, just let these people off, which is effectively what it came across as, whether that's what he meant it to come across as or not. You know, it's one thing for you as an individual police officer to see somebody who's obviously in some kind of distress, they've nicked a packet of mince, and you think maybe this is not the best time to prosecute them. That's one thing. But to actually state that as if that is part and parcel of police policy now, I think is wrong.
Absolutely. It's not part and parcel of police policy. Discretion has been here from the day dot. And I think, you know, what that message was, it was quite specific to food poverty, as you quite rightly said.
Yes.
And it's about, you know, do we need to criminalise somebody that's out there and that's going to get a loaf of bread? Or do we intervene, use our discretion and actually direct that person towards going to a food bank or a charity, rather than saying, I'm going to take you and put you into the criminal justice system? What benefit is that to the community or that individual? But that's not, you know, the message isn't out there that you should let every shoplifter. There may be prolific shoplifters and the reasons behind that. So I think that message hasn't been relayed right. Discretion has been there since, you know, since day dot for police officers. But the idea is to stop and just think about what police officers are doing. You've also got the retailers, you know, the shop that's been continuously, people are shoplifting from that shop. So I don't think it's like turn a blind eye, you know, totally walk away and say, yeah, that's all right, you can go out with a bag of shopping. It's saying take a step back and what can you do to help and assist that individual? Because, you know, we're facing a crisis, and so it's about a wider issue as well. It's about dealing with this, the cost of living, recession. It's about dealing with it in a different way from a governmental perspective. But I totally agree with you. Yeah. The message should be quite clear that we're referring to certain things, but it's about how officers deal with something at the scene, but it's not about turning a blind eye and saying, yep, off you go, take that bag of shopping out. I'm not going to do anything. That's not the message. And that shouldn't be conveyed in that way. We should be quite clear about who that message is for, and it's about taking a step back. What do you do when you do see somebody that's walking away with a loaf of bread and milk? What are police officers going to do?
Yeah,
Use your discretion, put that back, let's refer you, get you some help that you actually need. Charities, food banks.
Absolutely right. Nusra, thanks very much indeed. We're out of time, unfortunately.